Swaps are contracts that exchange a series of cash flows from one asset with a different series of cash flows from another asset. Swaps are often used in interest rate risk management and foreign exchange risk management, and they are arrangements made between two parties directly. Consider an organisation that has a $100,000 floating rate borrowing in place with a term of 5 years. The organisation is required to pay interest 6 monthly in arrears at the current bank bill swap reference rate. However, the organisation is concerned that interest rates will rise and it wants to lock in a fixed rate for the remaining 5-year period. It therefore decides to enter into a 5-year fixed for floating interest rate swap with another party, usually a financial institution, at a fixed rate of 4% and a notional principal of $100,000. Under the interest rate swap, the organisation would be required to pay the fixed rate of 4% to the counterparty, and it would receive the floating BBSW rate from the counterparty. The funds received from the floating leg of the swap will offset the interest on the original borrowing. So therefore, the organisation's net exposure is now just the fixed rate under the interest rate swap. Note that for an interest rate swap, the principal amount of $100,000 is never swapped. It is a notional principal amount, and it is only used to calculate the interest payments. Further, in practice, only the net interest differential will be settled, not the full interest amounts from each leg. In the previous example, let's assume that the BBSW rate at the first fixing date was 3%. The organisation will be due $1,500 on the floating leg, and it will owe $2,000 on the fixed leg. But only the net amount of $500 is effectively payable by the organisation to the counterparty under the interest rate swap. Over time, if the BBSW floating rate rises to, say, 5%, the net amount the organisation continues to pay is $2,000. That is, the fixed rate of 4% locked in under the interest rate swap. But on the floating leg, they will now be receiving $2,500 from the counterparty. In this situation, the organisation would now receive $500 from the counterparty under the interest rate swap. Effectively, the organisation has locked in an interest rate for the duration of its borrowing, reducing its interest rate risk and providing a known financial outcome.